Crusaders interview, since I've done the 2 commentaries already, but I never actually did an interview a bit about the history like I've been doing with all my epics, so I want to continue that trend, alright? But let's start off pre-Crusades. About 200 to 300 years, what happened was that the Muslims were actually invading through the south of Europe. They already conquered all of Africa, but they mainly came through Spain and Portugal. So they're known as the Moors a lot of the time when they had Moorish castles. That was all basically Muslim invasion. And they tried to come through the east as well, but mainly they were coming to settle and stuff and really wipe out Christianity from the start. That never really changed their modus operandi there. But that was again 200-300 years before Rome, before the Pope actually granted the Crusades to commence, and then it was all a matter of money, because they didn't always have a lot of money. So it was just who was willing to go, who was willing to co-fund them and stuff like that. Like Richard Lionheart basically was self-funded, and he gained a lot of funds along the way, but I'll get to him in a minute, right? Just so you're aware that basically there was 1 to 4 crusades which were dealing with Africa and the Holy Lands. It was always about Jerusalem at first, but then eventually it was anything about around Jerusalem, so basically Jordan, up Iran, up the coast, anywhere inland, basically wherever Saladin was in the 3rd Crusade, and also basically like along the Mediterranean in general, because it was always important getting Mediterranean ports. Ever since, you know, wars were fought and stuff, the Mediterranean, if you ever watch my Alexander video, it's very important that he took the Mediterranean, because it's essential for travel, stocking up, basically resupplying, all that stuff. So anyway, that was the 1st and the 4th. The 3rd is the main one with Saladin. That's the one with Kingdom of Heaven and all that. That's the one where I focused on with Richard Lionheart. That was probably one of the best ones, to be honest. I mean, as far as Crusades go, the 1st was pretty successful, the 2nd not so much, so that's why they had to send the 3rd. But don't forget, decades passed, sometimes even hundreds of years, and then these Crusades kept on going on. And the Crusades literally was the battle for Christianity versus Muslims versus Islam. So that never really stopped, you know. Even nowadays, kind of, if you look at the Americans are like the religious ones, or apparently they think they are. But yeah, they say God and Jesus and all that stuff, whereas, you know, the jihad and all that stuff, they have Allah. Okay, anyway, that's for another time. I won't get into that now. But let's go on to the later Crusades, which pretty much nobody knows about, not even I know about. So the 5th to the 9th Crusade were actually all around Eastern Europe mainly. So there was Il Cid and all that stuff in Spain, and he already kind of defeated the Moors and the Muslims, so they were kind of out. But then they kept on encroaching through Constantinople, through Turkey, up through like basically towards Russia, and even on the outskirts there. They're all there. They were there the whole time. You know, they're always trying to come back and get revenge, seek sort of holy sort of sacrifice, whatever, to kind of avenge their fallen brothers in the previous Crusades. It was a never-ending story with these guys. Believe me, you know, even if it lasted hundreds of years, they would not give up. I mean, they've literally, for over 1,000 years now, potentially 2,000, they've been fighting the Christians and everybody, defeating them on their home turf, sometimes losing, sometimes winning. But anyway, that's what war is always like. So repeated Muslim invasions attempt to destroy Christianity, Catholics anywhere. It doesn't matter if they're Christian or Catholics. Don't forget, it started off as Christianity, and then all the different sects or versions, sorry, if you will, they became, you know, like Catholic and Roman Catholic, blah, 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 all the other Catholics, whatever. But either way, it didn't matter the Muslims, it was all just Christianity. Now, the 3rd Crusade is my favorite one, and as I said, the best one, and that's why so many films were done about it. Even the reason why I did this is because Arnie was supposed to do a Crusade film with Paul Verhoeven. They spoke about it on the set of Total Recall, and it was all going ahead, but then it all got pulled in the last minute. So, well, last minute, it went on for like a year, the script writing, rewrites, all that stuff, budgets, and the studio actually went with a Pirates film instead, Cutthroat Island, which was a big flop. But yeah, really, Scott's Kingdom of Heaven with Orlando Bloom, I never really gave it much credit, but then throughout my research I kept on coming back to it, watching the battles and all that stuff, because that was still, you know, like around the Holy Lands, not the later European Crusades, you know, which again no one knows about, and I'm not going to do any epics about that, believe me. Now let's get to one of my favorites, who I played as well, which was Richard Lionheart. Never really thought much of him, didn't think he was a cool guy, and he was a bit French, English, whatever he was half-half, you know, it was all English, French back then. But either way, he's become one of my big heroes just because he was one of the underdogs that managed to defeat Saladin several times, Saladin's armies, and he was a constant thorn in his spine, or in his side, whatever you want to say. They constantly like battled it out, they always tried to outwit each other, but Richard Lionheart just had, I mean, too much heart. That's why he was called Heart. And again, you have to watch my Richard Lionheart stuff, because I think I did some good performing and some good green screens. Anyway, let's talk about specifically stuff that he did. You can watch my commentaries too, where I talk about it and actually show it. But the Jaffa fort, which was in the Mediterranean, so first he conquered Cyprus, and then there was Jaffa, and Jaffa was a big trading port and a very important fort for general that region, you know, again on the Mediterranean. So what he did in 1191 was when he did the first sort of attack on the fort, and he besieged it, and then he went up north towards Jordan, all that stuff, but then he had to come back down in 1192, so that was for the second battle, if you will, and that's where I focus on it in my sort of epic and the commentaries and all that stuff. And it was probably the first beach amphibious landing of its kind at the time. I mean, even now, like SEALs and all these army people, they study it just because it was way ahead of its time. He was sort of way too ambitious, you know, and that's how he defeated. He was thinking outside the box, and he defeated Saladin and the Muslims like several times. Now the cool thing is that he actually fought with a Danish bearded axe in that battle, and there's very famous pictures of it, so it's true. And when you see my epic, I didn't make that up, alright? I just took my Viking axe from my previous epic and then I put it in there, which is perfect, you know. That's how my epics go. They roll into one, you know. I take props and weapons and costumes from one, and then I go to the next through the eras, you know. And this is still when I was going ahead in time. Now I'm kind of jumping back and stuff. Anyways, King Saladin's army was the main rival to Lionheart, and basically a lot of them. Balian was actually a true character, so the Orlando Bloom person or character that he played was actually a real dude. And he was around, and he actually did sort of fought a lot of good, you know. He was in there fighting it out with Saladin and with the King of Jerusalem, played by Edward Norton in the film. They actually managed to broker a deal, so there was a kind of a truce and stuff like that where they left the Holy Land. So that was the end of the Third Crusade. Now, just to let you know, there's two versions of the Crusader that I've done. So there's the original one, which was kind of more of a test and stuff, and it was so cool, so badass. I had to do the follow-up, which was Richard Lionheart. So it's literally about this kind of like lone crusader, if you will, lone pilgrim, and he goes through Europe to the Holy Lands, and then it kind of jumps to Richard Lionheart. So it's nearly as if he could have been Richard Lionheart, you know, but you know, that's why I kind of like do the epics, because I'm playing with all that. Now that brings me to my last point. So I also did Lone Crusader with a mate of mine from Batman called Colin Russell, and he does my music for my Vietnam epic now, so we're kind of become regular collaborators. I helped him out with some lighting, he helped me out with some music, as you do. And so you can see that as well. I'll finally upload it to my channel too, even though it's his film really. But yeah, he did all the music, the editing, the effects. I was just there as an actor really. But yeah, I mean, I've got this wonderful costume, right? So come on, it's pretty badass, right? Anyway, so that's it for Crusade interview. But yeah, watch my stuff to learn some more. You can always check out, I've done research playlists as well, so if you know how to find playlists, you just go through them and then easy peasy. You can kind of follow my journey, so as I kind of researched it, then you kind of see similarities in what I've taken, bits and pieces, you know. But yeah, that's Crusader for you, or Lone Crusader, whichever one you prefer, the real one or the green screen one. Peace. Haha. These are my Crusade end screens. Don't forget them, because you can go to my channel anytime, or you can watch the playlist. Up to you.